Welcome to Lifewalk's December 13th Assembly video. We're in Luke chapter 2 today. Yay, we're finally to those Christmas stories, the ones everybody thinks about when it's Christmas time. We're also in week 2 of our 5 stones prayer activity, and we're hoping that you're enjoying that. These are among the most famous stories of all time in all the world. And that's sort of an interesting thing for us to think about. And I hope that by the time of the end of the service today, we'll have a good understanding of what makes famous, at least in the long term.
How many of you have Christmas trees up at your house? Christmas trees are wonderful symbols of the season, full of reminders about the first Christmas. But there's one part of the Christmas tree that's more important than any other. Can you guess what it is? It's not the lights, or the ornaments, or even the star or angel at the top of the tree. Surprised you, didn't I? Most of you probably don't look at the Christmas tree base. We only see it when we're taking it up or putting it down. It's usually hidden by the tree or the tree skirt. But without the base, the tree wouldn't stand up. The lights and the ornaments would fall down and we'd have a big mess in our hands in the living room. There are so many things that happen at Christmas, it's easy to forget one other important part of the season. We get so excited about time off from school, presents, Santa, family, and parties that it's easy to forget about the baby Jesus. But without Jesus, there would be no Christmas. His birth was so important that Isaiah wrote about it centuries before it occurred. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. This Christmas, I urge you to look behind the lights, the presents, the ornaments, and the tree. Look at the foundation of Christmas and our faith, Jesus. Remember what Christmas is all about, and thank him for the gift that he gave us.
Now let thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. Mine eyes have seen thy salvation, which thou hast prepared before the face of all people, a light to lighten the Gentile, and the glory of thy people Israel. Behold, this child is set for the fall and rising again of many in Israel. Yea, a sword will pierce to thy own soul, that the thoughts of many hearts may be revealed.
So what'd you think of the video of the presentation of Jesus before Simeon? I love the fact that the Mormons are doing those kinds of videos, but to be honest, you think that's really what it looked like? I know we think of these stories as famous and cool and divinely led and all those kinds of things. But no one back then thought so. No one back then thought Mary was going to turn out to be a woman who would be known throughout history as one of those people who made a difference. No one thought Joseph was someone who was going to be remembered. Nobody thinks of him as a great carpenter. No one thought of Simeon as someone important. No one, maybe a few people who were especially interested in the temple noticed him, or Anna. But these weren't famous people, and they weren't people who by themselves looked like something special. When Jesus was presented to the temple, they were just another poor couple who could barely do the simplest and cheapest way to do the sacrifices required by the law. And when they walked in, it would have been crowded and no one was paying attention to them. And there would have been lots of other people there. And it would have been Simeon who would have come and pointed out what was so special about them. And a few people would have noticed, but not likely very many. And that's exactly what Luke's point is, I think, for us today. As we read through Luke chapter 2, we see these people, these shepherds, all these different people who are involved in these stories, and they are special and memorable, not because of who they are, but because they were chosen by God for ministry, and they said yes. God does that. He chooses us and involves us and gives us opportunity and makes us a part of his plan and his work because he's God. And when we're moldable and when we're willing and we're willing to take a chance and be a part of a group who will do something different, then we become, in God's hands, famous, impactful, the kind of people that make differences. Not maybe always in the realm of public opinion, but in the realm of things that are eternity. I hope you know what it feels like to be chosen for a time of service, when you just know exactly what's going on and how God is involved in what's making a difference. Leslie and I know those kinds of things. We've had those happen several times in our lives. One of them is moving back to York. Some of you have heard me say that of all the places we'd ever lived before, York was the only place where I'd said, I'll never move back there. And then all of a sudden, there was all these things that were happening in our life that indicated that York was the place that we needed to go. And so we left Columbus and moved back to York, not sure exactly what God had in mind. And then after we were here a few weeks or a couple of months, all of a sudden people started coming up to us and saying, you know, there's a lot of us here who think that there should be a new church in York. And we know you have experience in planting churches and in being part of new churches. Won't you come and be a part of what we're doing? And let's start a church. Oh, and of course, by the way, it turned out to be Lifewalk. You know, I've had that feeling happen enough times in my life that I miss it when it's not there. And sometimes it's a big thing, sometimes it's a small thing, but it's great when you feel like that you're a part of what God is calling and the difference that he makes in people's lives. I hope maybe that you have that feeling right now and that you're certain that you know exactly where God wants you and how that you can help and serve in ministry for him. Or maybe that's not exactly where you are right now. That happens for individuals. It also happens for churches. And a big reason I think, at least me personally, why this 5 Stones prayer event is so important is because it is a commitment from Lifewalk, as well as I hope from each one of you, to listen to God, to see if he's calling us to something. Maybe it's something we've done before that he wants us to go back and do again. Maybe it's something that we've never done before. But it's an opening up to God, an asking of God to pour into our hearts his wisdom and his certainty and his direction for our lives. Just like the shepherds, who weren't anybody before this, and quite frankly, weren't anybody after a few weeks when Jesus had left town and nobody knew where the baby was, and all those stories were things of the past. Maybe it's for a season. Maybe it's for the rest of our lives. Maybe like Simeon and Anna, this is the kind of thing that will become the capstone, the thing that will always be remembered for, the thing that we'll look back and say, that's when God really made a difference through me. Isn't God great? I hope that over the coming weeks, as we're involved in prayer, that we'll be looking for the kinds of things that God has in mind for us. Because when we're working in the direction that God would have us to go, that's what really it means to be famous.
The threefold terror of love, a fallen flare through the hollow of an ear, wings beating about the room, the terror of all terrors that I bore the heavens in my womb. Had I not found content among the shows every common woman knows, chimney corner, garden walk, or rocky cistern where we tread the clothes and gather all the talk? What is this flesh I purchased with my pains, this fallen star my milk sustains, this love that makes my heart's blood stop or strikes a sudden chill into my bones and bids my hair stand up?